on Twitch because you know it takes a minute
Yeah.
to actually come up on the Twitch side. Um,
No hosting situation is just, I don't understand
I know.
why they would stop it.
And my fingers, when I go into somebody's chat, I'm so used to
Mm-hmm.
going right up and hitting host. I've done it this whole time. My brain is still doing it. And I keep forgetting, oh yeah, no host. Oh my
Because when
gosh.
Grandmaster Flash was on uh Jazzy Jeff, I was
Mhm.
like, he was like, share it. I'm like, okay, how do I do that? I was so excited about it.
Yeah. I
I
saw
put it
your
on
post.
social
Yeah.
media, but once it's done, it's done. It's like,
Hmm.
so then you just have to take it down.
Yeah. Sucks. Mm. All right. Let's see. I
Is it up?
haven't seen the what you call it yet. Not yet.
This is what happens when I'm, squirrel. Get on, and I'm looking at somebody sent me a whisper, so I was
Oh
looking at
yeah, I see it. All right, we're live. We are on Twizich. Yeah, I see it at the bottom.
Okay, here we go. All
All right, we're live on.
right, we're just waiting
I
on
didn't turn mine down too.
we're just waiting on people to show up.
Yeah. I know. I think like the two people that are there are me and you, probably, right?
Right, right.
Let's see,
I did
viewers.
figure out how
Yeah.
to, when you go on Restream, you can actually link it to your own channel.
Oh, yeah. You know, it asked you for that. Yeah,
So
because we're both eating raisinets. Listen, people just get some snacks. You know, y'all snack with us too if you're
I don't
there.
know. So I
Honestly.
I did do that. So at least it's on my own page, but whether anybody's gonna see that, I don't know.
Right. Right. That's the crazy thing about this lack of host and all that jazz. So if anybody's out there, get you a snack. Kim Possible and I, ironically, we
Or
did
both.
not know, we didn't plan this.
Mm-hmm.
We're eating raisinets. She had raisinets. I asked her, what are you eating? She said raisinets. And I held up my box. Me too. So, yeah.
Well, at least we are spiritually on the same wavelength right now.
I know. I love it. I
So
love
we
it.
shall see. SK
SK8843.
8843, welcome in.
Oh, you know what? I
Grab your
can't see it.
snack, girl.
There we go. Chat. Hey.
We are
Okay.
eating raisinets.
Yes, right. Oh, we didn't plan
Here's the
it. It was
problem.
so
I could
amazing.
really eat this whole bag if I just sit here and keep eating them. But that's the problem.
Yeah. Same. Same. All right. I'm gonna go to the because I can't. Can you see comments on your restream?
Yes.
You can. Okay. Why don't I see them yet? Hold on.
Yes. Snacks for all. Mm-hmm. I
All right.
wish I
Hold
could
on.
share, but I only got a little bit left. Let's see. I had the big bag, and when I opened it, I didn't open it right, and so you know how you can seal the bag back, and I couldn't seal it back. I had to. So I was like, well, Ziploc
Yep.
bag works all the time. So let me just transfer.
Right. And I just got this box here. You know, the box has gotten slimmer too. I don't know what's the deal with that, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't see the comments in Restream. So I'll just look at the comments
Okay.
on Twitch. SK8843, welcome in. How are you today? Welcome to Good Grief. And as you can see, Spiritual Thought Leader is not with us today. She is with her glam squad getting ready for a birthday celebration.
Yes.
And we are so happy for her. She was surprised, and so we're excited. So happy for her, and continued birthday blessings to Spiritual Thought Leader today and always. And so me, Crazy Berry Town, and Kim Possible 711 are here today to continue our chat and support and hugs and loving surrounding grief. So
Yes.
here we are. Let me see. Oh, that was my husband asking me, is the Twitch up? Yeah, it is.
Is the Twitch up? Yes.
The Twitch up, right? You could tell he doesn't do this often, right? So Kim, let's check in.
Yes.
SK8843 first, how are you doing? Let us know in the chat. How's your week been? What are you looking forward to for the weekend? Kim Possible, what's up?
So it's homecoming weekend, right?
Oh, right.
And so I didn't make it to that party last night. I was gonna ask you if you made it out last night.
I didn't.
Kim, it's your girl Kim show, and 3 other people from Clark Atlanta University host a party on the Thursday night before homecoming or during homecoming week. So I got the invite, but I didn't leave Alpharetta until 9:45.
Oh my gosh.
By the time I got home, it was like, I'm not, I can't even begin to think about a homecoming party outfit at this juncture.
Yeah.
I was just glad to be home. So
yeah.
That. And then I will probably this evening get together with some of my line sisters. It's Sigma Chapter 91st anniversary, but because I missed the early bird package, I was like, I'm not paying extra for the little things.
Okay.
It's not worth the money. So I'm not doing the official stuff. And I'm at that age where it will depend on how I feel tomorrow. What I will do.
I feel the same way. I'm like that too.
Yeah. I also have a girlfriend of mine that's in town with her. She's she has her PhD in Hebrew Bible. So she's here with her seminary for the week for some stuff. And we're meeting for breakfast tomorrow morning at 7. Don't even. Good. Hour. She was like, you guys know I'm an early bird, so I got to stay near the house. So what about 7? And I'm like,
wow.
Okay, I know who I'm talking about. I know who I'm dealing with. So that means I'm going to need to go to bed early if I'm going to meet her for breakfast in the morning.
Because it's one thing to be up, but then to be up and out somewhere, Yeah. Where are you guys going?
We're going to First Watch.
Oh, yum. I like First Watch.
For breakfast in the morning, which I love that space.
Me too.
Tonight, I'm not sure where we're going for dinner. And I won't be going to the game or the tailgate because it's inside of the game. So that means I'd have to buy a ticket to go to the game. And I just think that this is the first real homecoming for alumni since the pandemic. So everybody that can be here is going to be there. And that means it's a concentrated amount of people in a space that's not that big. Listen, it's outside, but it's concentrated folks. And I'm just like, no, not gonna do it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I saw some videos from the event last night, and I was like, "Ooh, a little snug." Right?
So what's funny is that party, and then there's the older alum party. And so one of the ladies at my church, she was at that party last night, and I'm like, "Oh, is this why you left church early yesterday? So you can get your, black glammed out outfit to wear."
Right.
They get they get really dressed up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and of course, I don't know I know one other person that she knows that goes to our church too. That was there, but the rest of them.
I thought Emory was the same weekend because I remember I responded to you saying Emory's the same weekend, and it's next weekend, child. Like all of my literally every weekend in October is booked. Like there's something to go, like something going on, and I just haven't. I really literally look at the weekend the week before. Like, okay, what's coming up this weekend? And so in my head, when you told me about it, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to make it because that's Emory homecoming and my girlfriend's coming in town. But yeah, that's next week. So.
Yeah, next weekend is Morehouse Spelman. It's Morehouse homecoming.
Yeah. And I think it was that way. So there are a couple of friends that I graduated undergrad from Emory with, and they went to Morehouse Med School. So they get both the same weekend. So they're like, I love it. And they're out of town. They don't live here anymore. So they come and do Emory, and then let's say, well, we'll see you later tonight or tomorrow. And then they go do the Morehouse Med stuff or whatever. And then there's another one. So it's 3 of them actually. One went to Morehouse Medical School, but then his wife, she went to Spelman.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just make a whole weekend of it. The grandparents come and watch the kids, whatever. So they love that Emory and Morehouse Spelman is the same weekend. So they can make one trip and be done.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's kind of neat.
It is going to be bananas.
Oh, I'm sure. But you're right, though. You're right. I think for many, it's like the first, like full blown. Now, last year, Emory we had homecoming, but it was not what I think it's going to be this year. It was a little more reduced. Everything they had outside, like even our alumni parties, they, Emory, they got the money. They got these big igloo type tent type things, and they were all over the quad. And each group, like each reunion group, because we do our reunions on the 5s. So all alumni can come, and then you have your reunions on the 5s. And so everybody had their own igloo, basically. But it was open air, it was covered, but it was open. And so it was, but again, it was nice. I went to a few things, but definitely not the crowd. And they didn't have as many things to do. Like when I looked at this year's schedule, friends of mine said, "Oh, so are we doing such and such and such?" I was like, I didn't even see. The schedule is so packed because you go in and register, you check box and register for things. And I was like, yeah, just sign me up, put me as your +1 because I didn't even see it. So, yeah. Well, welcome into
for us. I mean, yes. Hey, T Breezy, welcome.
Thanks, babe. Shout out.
Who was that talking about hoodies and why do girls take guys' hoodies all the time? That was on somebody's stream the other day.
That conversation. It was. What was that?
And he was saying, "I've lost 2 good hoodies," and I'm like, "Well, might want to stop having random women come to your house taking your stuff." But
oh my gosh.
All I'm saying, but and then I think it was in Rebels because she was like, "Just go buy another one."
Oh, it was Rebel. I don't know why it was heavy, but you're right. It was Rebel. It was. Yep. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, this morning I was trying to find something. I got ready to take Timbers to school. It was a little chillier than I thought it was this morning. And so I went we have all of our hoodies because they're thicker in the coat closet. So mine, Trey, Tim, they're all in the coat closet. And this is the one I stretched it. I was like, it looks like it'll fit. Okay, I'll throw it on. And so this morning he saw me. He was like, "Oh, nice hoodie." So,
this is my Cuddle Duds fleece. I was like, I need on something else. Like, it is cold.
I hear you.
My little tax guy was coming by and he was like, "Just put it in just put it on the mat or whatever." I'm like, "Okay, it's cold outside though."
Right.
Let me find that fleece. I bought this to go to the Holy Land and I'm like, "Oh no, this is too much, I think." It's too thick. I don't want it to be too thick. Because I have like Cuddle Duds, like, you layer everything, but this is like the fleece one. And it is extremely warm, but I knew it was not going to be good.
Gotta have that. Yeah. Sometimes you don't need like a full blown like winter coat here, not for a while anyway. But you do need something. You need a layer of something. So that sounds like a nice choice for this time.
Yeah, this is my favorite season, so I am absolutely loving it. So we have what's called Sigma Chapter does what's called the champagne sip, which is, every organization, I guess, I'm assuming, I'm only a Delta, so I know where we meet. We meet in the Science Building, and we have everybody gathers there. There's food, there's going to be archival stuff because of our anniversary and everything. And so it's a designated space where everybody always knows where to go after the parade. And then after that, we leave and we go to the blocks and we sing the Sweetheart song. And then everybody disperses. You either go home, you go to the game, you go to the tailgate, you go do whatever, because that's on main campus. So since I'm up, I'm going to be up. I'm not going to the parade, sure, because I don't want to stand outside and do all that. I might go to the SIP. I got to figure out what time that is. Just so I can say I actually went to homecoming this year.
I hear you.
I really want to kind of go. I want to go. I just don't want to deal with all the people. And to deal with a smaller subset of people, I think would be better than all the people.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, I'm sort of that mindset these days. It's sort of like, okay, who's gonna be there? All right, one of those things sometimes. Like, who's gonna be, like you said, like, do I really want to go? Like, there's always next year, but
and it's
but every homecoming though, we can pick and choose. There's so much to choose from. So you can go small.
I mean, they've been doing things since Sunday. It started Sunday.
Jeez, Louise. Oh my gosh.
Chapel. And then there's been stuff every day. And there was a comedy. I mean, they really did have a full, like there was a comedy show. There was a gospel thing. There's a gospel brunch on Sunday. There's all this stuff. And I'm like, what? And then the side parties. And then like tonight at the alumni house, everybody who wants to be there will be there. There'll be food, there'll be DJ and all of that. So I just see how I feel about all that.
Yeah, just see how you feel. You know, sometimes Friday events are always tricky because especially when you're in the location, when you live in that city where it's happening, because most of us are working, right? So you're like, you know, but if you're traveling for that event, you're going to do everything because you're traveling for it. So I get it. Yeah, actually we had a little group text. So it's me and two of my girlfriends. We were roommates off campus for 2 years, and we're still like super close and BFFs. And so we text every day. We have a text thread. And so we were just talking about, okay, what are we going to do Friday? So I think we're going to pregame here. I think that's the thing. Because she's adult. So Tiffany, who was on Day Drinking, so she's coming down, and her Delta the chapter anniversary, I think it's 40 years or something like that, is the event is next Friday. Okay. So I said, look, instead of you trying to be here, there, you know, I said, you know what, we'll just pregame here. You go to the Delta thing. Me and Donna will figure out, we'll either stay here and keep eating charcuterie, I don't know, or we'll just go on campus and walk around and see who's there, you know, whatever. And we'll just keep it simple, you know, because it's just, again, one of those things like so much going on, but then you have like you know, things with your sorority or, you know, like we also have other events like with the gospel choir at Emory, which was a big deal, you know, being in a PWI. Obviously we're in the minority, right? So all of those things are special to us and they're hallmarks of our years there. So we always do a gospel choir reunion and small, like a little, not a concert, but we sing a few songs on the quad and stuff, and people come and clap and whatever. So, you know, trying to navigate all of that is cray. Yeah. The one and only Keisha Key. What's going on, man? Hey, gorgeous. How are you? So we're just chopping it up about our weekend and homecoming plans and such. Keisha Key, let us know how you're doing today. Welcome to Good Grief. So we're going to talk about grief.
Yeah, we are.
I'm going to put this in the chat and I'm going to use I can do it this way. I listened to, let me tell you about it first, and then I'll put it in the chat. So, and let me also preface this and say, I don't know if there's another way to listen to it if you don't have an iPhone. I'm sure there is. I don't know if you can listen to Apple Podcasts without Apple, but whatever. Anderson Cooper, you know, he's a journalist and show host on CNN. He has a new podcast. And let me pull up the name of it because, of course, I just had it. And now my mind said, no, you don't. It's called All There Is. All There Is. Podcast by Anderson Cooper.
Yeah.
It is. Have you listened to it?
I haven't, but if people don't have Apple, they have, you know, you can listen to podcasts on Prime. You can listen to podcasts on all these different other streaming platforms. So
I wasn't sure. That's what I was thinking. I was like, is it?
But I think you can. I think you can still access it through that, even if you don't have it.
You know what? Here I am. Listen, I just Googled it, and under, like when I Googled it to get the name and everything, I'm on the podcast.apple website, and you can just press play.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So at the moment, there are 6 episodes. So if I could show you the screen, I would, but I'll read it to you quickly.
I think you can. So there's this button that says ads. Now I don't know about Restream, but I look at Restream.
Share screen. Listen, y'all. Listen.
You know,
STL isn't here.
It says new. Well, your view might be different since you logged in, but it has ad source, and then there's got extra camera, presentation, local video, from your computer.
I've got share screen on here.
Okay.
Let's try to listen, guys. STL isn't here, so
yeah, we
break it. Right?
We taking over. We took over. Don't tell her. I'm sure she's gonna see this later, so we asking forgiveness now because we're not sure what's going on.
Let's see if I share screen. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Oh wait, that brings up. Okay, wait.
And the rebel is not here either, so she can't release anything either.
We're on our own, people. Okay.
We are.
So yeah, I don't know how this is gonna show. Forget it.
Okay. All right.
But real quick though, it's just a description, a short description. It talks about Anderson Cooper taking a journey, a deeply personal exploration of loss and grief. And he starts his recording while packing up the apartment of his late mother. You know, his mother was Gloria Vanderbilt. Going through her journals and keepsakes, as well as things left behind by his father and brother, Cooper begins a series of emotional and moving conversations about the people we lose, the things they leave behind, and how to live on with loss, with laughter, and with love. And there are others. Hold on, let me put a comment there. Keisha Key said, I just received news that I got the job to support the president at a major hospital.
Woohoo! You go, girl.
That's right, sis. Congratulations. That is awesome. That is an edge snatcher right there.
Amazing.
Congratulations. We're so happy for you and proud of you. Way to go. Now that's the way to start the weekend.
That is a way to start the weekend. Yeah. Turn up for real, for real.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Yeah. So the one I listened to, so he's talked with Molly Shannon. She was on Saturday Night Live and she's been in movies. And he also talked with Stephen Colbert from the Colbert Show. Mm-hmm. And someone sent it to me, and this is sort of a testament to what I said before, that I wasn't sure. I used to post about my grief and what I've learned and tools that I got from my group therapy every week when I was going, like attending, like I would post it that next day on my Facebook page. And I got in my head. I think I said this before. I got in my head. I got a couple of comments or things that I perceived as snark, and kind of got in my head and stopped posting about my grief. And I go back and forth about it all the time, about whether or not I should start it back and whatever. But anyway, someone that I don't hear from often, a good friend, and I buy pies from her all the time, but it's just literally like an exchange. She's an amazing baker and I buy pies, and that's it. We don't talk about anything else, really. And she sent me the link to the Stephen Colbert podcast. And she talked about, even quoted me, some of the things that I said in the past about my grief. And she wanted to share that with me. And the sort of the gist of Stephen Colbert's is, and actually here's the tea, y'all. The title is Grateful for Grief. Grateful for Grief. And he talks to Anderson Cooper about what that means and what grief means to him, and how much loss. I didn't realize. I knew about Gloria Vanderbilt. I remember I've seen him be interviewed, Anderson Cooper, about his mom passing, but I didn't realize his brother died by suicide years ago, and then his father also preceded his mom in death as well. So he's had a lot of loss. And now I will say this: if you are, listen, I'm a crier. Like all I have to hear is a little wiggle in somebody's voice, and it's a wrap. And Anderson gets the wiggle often, right? Well, but you can hear his raw pain, even with a funny person like Stephen Colbert, who I just think of him and I start giggling. But to hear both of these people talking about their multiple losses. Stephen Colbert talked about his mother, but then he also talked about previous losses when Anderson Cooper brought up his brother and father. And so it was just fascinating to me. And I wanted to share that with you all, that podcast. I think it's fascinating to hear someone talk about so much loss and so much grief, but then at the same time being grateful for it. And I gave him the side. I pressed play and I was like,
right, like, yeah, really.
you're bugging. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So right, it's just like, this can't be real.
Mm-hmm.
But what he said, and I think it was more of a play on words, like grateful for grief, alliteratively sounds good, the grateful, the G's, grateful for grief. But I think the heart of what he was getting to was being grateful for the love that you had and the memories that you shared with the loved ones that you lost. And the grief makes you or causes you to hold on to those things tighter, right? We have said this, and Kim, you have said this, I've said it, where there's great love, there's great grief, right? And what he is saying is he's grateful for that great love, but now that love, is moved over. That love that I have and the people that I loved, they're gone. And I have this grief surrounding that. And he's grateful because the grief causes him to not forget them, to not forget their memory, to in his heart hug them a little bit closer, cling to those memories. He's also written some things down. He said he doesn't know he'll publish them, but he's written memories and funny stories, a couple of recipes, things that he didn't do when they were alive, right? But now he's in this grief space, and there's all these things that are pouring out of him because of the love. And he said he was grateful for that. And I was so moved listening to him. I never thought about it in that way. So I hope you all can carve out some time to listen to it. It's so good. It's a good.
I'll add that to my driving list, because I listen to audiobooks and podcasts in the car while I'm sitting in traffic trying to get to my destinations in Atlanta. But there's healing in hearing other people's stories, because it does help us to recognize that we are not alone in this, that there are people even that, and I actually forgot that Anderson Cooper's mother was Gloria Vanderbilt. I knew that, but I forgot that. So, and he's funny to me. Whenever I've seen him interviewed, when he used to be on the Ellen Show or on Live with Kelly and whoever the new host is at that point, he's hilarious to listen.
Anderson Cooper is. He really is. People think he's so like straight-laced and stiff.
He is absolute comedy. And I could absolutely see him being very transparent about his grief journey. And, I think that's what people need to hear and see. So to you, I would encourage you to really consider restarting to post things, because people really do need to know that there's other people out here that are dealing with what I'm dealing with, because you cannot get away from the fact that you're going to lose somebody. You just can't.
Right.
I was talking to somebody, and they were we had an event, or it was a gathering. This year's been the year of firsts of people getting together, and I think it was a concert, but there was a moment in the concert where there was someone who had been an integral part of the concert title or whatever it was, and they weren't there that year because they had passed away during COVID. And so, of course, they did like a tribute moment to that individual. And then they asked for people that if you had experienced any loss during the pandemic, like they kind of named it, if you lost somebody to COVID, stand. If you just lost a loved one, stand. If you lost your job, stand. If you lost your business, stand. All these things. And by the time they got done, everybody was standing. So everyone has had great loss over the last 2.5 years.
Right.
Since this pandemic. And not that it lost
a concentrated time,
but the pandemic has really concentrated and made it more of an impact, because we collectively were experiencing these losses in such a profound way that historically, when you've gone through something with a certain group of people, there's just this connection that we have that, that the tragedy or the situation kind of just brings us closer. So such a powerful experience.
I can't even imagine
that. But just listening to the person talk about it, I was like, what? I know that was amazing. And there wasn't a dry eye in the place.
I'm
but
sure.
in the midst of it, they continue to worship, they continue to press through, because everybody's still going through.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So yeah, that.
Wow.
I would definitely check that out.
Yeah, that's an interesting exercise, though. You're right. This so much loss in such a concentrated period of time, and again, the variety of loss, and that's one of the things that we talk about and welcome people here for, is not just when we think grief, we think of losing loved ones, which all of us, or at least most of us, have experienced losing important people in our lives. But as they said, if you've lost a job or your lifestyle or something due to the pandemic and the lockdown and such, I'm sure so many people can identify with that, and that is loss, and that is something to grieve. So yeah, that is definitely powerful, and it's amazing because I think for prior to maybe 2020, many people would, not many, but some people would say, well, I haven't experienced a great loss, or it's been a long time. Maybe they had a big loss in their lives years and years and years ago, but something about this pandemic, it has just opened up the channels there of loss, for, unfortunately, for so many people. And that is one of the reasons why I love what we do here. And why I agree with you. I think it is important to, start back up, posting on Facebook and Instagram what I would about grief, because so many people have experienced and are experiencing grief, and like recent grief too. So yeah, I think that's important. And it's important that, and I love hearing what you said. It's important that others, are acknowledging that, other people, other groups, community organizations and such. It's important that they're recognizing the grief is real, the loss is real, and the grief is real. Yeah.
Yes.
Anita Harvey, hello there. Good afternoon. Welcome in. Welcome to Good Grief. I was about to say welcome to Crazy Berry Town. Well, welcome to Good Grief. We are just talking about just chit-chatting today. I talked about a grief podcast. I won't call it a grief podcast, but a podcast by Anderson Cooper from CNN called All There Is. And it is and you can hear him like moving stuff around, like he's literally packing up his mother's stuff. And he said even that, even just the act of packing has been, he said, very stressful.
Yeah.
His mom, he said his mom was kind of like her house, he said apartments. It's Gloria Vanderbilt, so I'm sure she has multiple apartments. He said they were all like museums and shrines, because she rarely talked much about her son that died by suicide. She never talked, or rarely talked much about her husband, or Anderson. I don't know if they were married, I don't want to say it, but his father. But she had all this stuff that he had never seen, pictures that he had never seen. So imagine you're cleaning out your mom's stuff, right? And her career, we're talking Gloria Vanderbilt,
Oh
no. Then you get a stack of pictures of his brother that his mom has stashed away, love letters from his dad to her that he had never seen. So he just decided, he said, I think he said on an interview about this podcast, he said that he had started doing it. He had just started recording, like a voice recording, talking about his feelings. But then he said he was really lonely, and he wanted to talk to people about it, which is what we talk about here. Because sometimes people just want to be heard, just want to talk.
Yes.
And that's how. And in that time period, he had remembered about Stephen Colbert losing his mom, and he wanted to talk to him, and that's how he ended up interviewing him. So out of the 6 episodes, I've only listened to that one. I have not listened to the others, but I definitely plan on it. I want to listen to all of them, because I'd like to chat more about them here and what I've learned. But there's this really amazing metaphor. There's so many metaphors, right? Thanks, T Breezy. Have a great day. We'll see you later. P.S. Captain Boots wants Magnolia Room for dinner, so govern yourself accordingly. Okay. Anyway,
your room for dinner.
I swear, Rebel calls him elderly. She calls him Deacon Boots because he's so elderly. I swear. But he said to me yesterday, he said, "Mama, how do you feel about Magnolia Room for dinner tomorrow?" I'm like, "Say less," because that's my favorite, one of my favorite places.
I've not been there yet, so I still got to get there. But
I thought you. Oh, that's right. You didn't go with us that day when we went with Lakita. That was Shantae and
yeah.
Oh, girl, what you doing? And I'm like, come on to dinner
tonight. Let me check and see if they don't if they dilly dally and drag their feet.
I know that's right.
Elsewhere.
I love it. So we can always go. I love it.
Yeah. So
that is my jam. I love Magnolia Room. It's like a cafeteria, you know. They have all.
I know, but I've heard they've got great food, and so
it is great. It is. So I said, Captain Boots said, "What do you want?" Yeah. He was like, I want the cube steak."
Because old people eat at cafeterias.
I know it. I know.
Rebel is not wrong. That Deacon Boots really is channeling his elderly energy.
Really is.
But
so funny.
Yeah.
He is hilarious. Okay, what we were saying, we're still talking about the podcast, right?
Mm-hmm. And just his discovery of all the stuff that he found.
Right.
Honestly, those are things that it helps you to really, it can be really, really sad to go through your loved one's things. And, all of these things memories that they've had that you may not have been privy to. But then it's also a self-discovery type of thing of really getting to know even more about your loved one that you did not know. And it kind of helps us process our grief because, it brings us closer to the person, and it also continues to fuel our memory bank about them.
Mm-hmm.
Because then that's more things that we learn to love about them. And sometimes those memories are not good ones, but it's still them nonetheless. So, you miss the total person and their total life experience. And it's just valuable to really have that intel to know that, that was there and that she too was grieving because of, the loss of her son.
Right.
She processed through that because, people don't really talk about, especially when someone has lost a loved one to suicide. There's just this whole other level of, I really, really, really don't know what to say. Right. And the person that's experiencing it can feel very, very lonely because they don't know where to go to share. And so I know that there are groups specific to folks who are suicide, who've had first persons that they've lost to suicide, because they can kind of understand just how that feels. And just shame can come along with that. It shouldn't be shameful, but it comes along with that. There's guilt that comes along with that. So people need special spaces, I'll call it that. Really kind of process through those things. And it just makes you have compassion more for those individuals as they are going through.
Yeah. I know I think one of our very first, or not very first, but one of the first few streams that we did, we talked about how grief doesn't miss anybody. We talked about how it shows up in popular culture. I read that quote from Queen Sugar. I read a quote from Michelle Obama's book. I think I talked about the guy, Andrew Garfield. He plays Spider-Man. He's also in a movie now on Hulu about not Falwell, the other guy, Baker, Jim Baker. He played Jim Baker anyway, and he was on Jimmy Kimmel's show talking about it, and he started crying, and people were like, "Oh, whatever," and he said, "No, I don't mind the tears. Like, I'm not sad." He said, "I want to." I think he said, I just listened to it again today to prepare for today. He said, "I want to hold on to this sadness, this grief, because it's for my mom, and she was everything, and that's how I hold on to her. I can't hold on to her love without the grief being there." prior to her dying, we had the love, right? That's similar to what Stephen Colbert is saying. You know, like I have to be grateful for the grief, right? Like, because I would, if I didn't love her, or if I didn't have a mom, or she sucked as a mom, you know, whatever, I wouldn't be grieving her, right? But I have this grief because I loved her so. I had this grief because she was so amazing. She gave so much. She was a beautiful person. And so all of that you loved now has kind of shifted to grief. And that is sort of what Andrew Garfield was saying. But listening to these two giants in media, you know, Anderson Cooper and Stephen Colbert, and again, listening to that, hearing that wiggle in Anderson Cooper's voice, I'm just like, it misses no one. No one is immune to grief and sadness and loss and tears, the pain. And I listen to it almost like in a way, like in awe, you know, like listen to these two guys chopping it up, you know, they're in his mom's apartment. He invited Stephen Colbert over. And they're sitting in his apartment. He's packing up her stuff, and they're talking about grief. You know, something so, you know, just basic in our lives. You know, and no matter who you are, what TV show you might be on, how much money you have or not, how popular you are, or if you're a celebrity or famous or not, it doesn't miss you. It doesn't miss you. And I also listened when I finished it. You know, when it was over. They were kind of going through the credits, and I just kind of in my heart, I said, thank you. I thought it was a beautiful thing that these two men, and I love that too, that it was men talking about their families and their moms. So for Stephen Colbert, he lost his mother. So they connected in that way. And ironically, like I said, Stephen Colbert also lost other people in his life. I think a brother, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, his brother, Peter, because he was talking about, speaking of things, he was talking about how he has a son he named Peter for his brother. And Stephen Colbert was 10, I think, when his brother died. And his brother was in his teens, I think. And anyway, he had a belt. He said a woven belt that he he said, I literally just, everywhere I moved, it moved with me. And he said, I always found a special place for it in my closet. And his son asked for a belt. Either he had lost it or his belt had broken or something. He said, oh, no problem. I've got a belt for you. And his wife said, all these years that he had been married, his wife had never seen it. And she said, where did you get that belt from? He said, it's Peter's. And she realized he didn't mean the son Peter. He meant the brother. And she said, she looked funny. And he said, yeah, I know, huh? That is kind of strange. And he was explaining to Anderson that, you know, he's had it. How old? I don't know how old Stephen Colbert is. He's 40s, 50s, I guess. And he's had this belt, you know, forever, you know, like all these years since his brother died when he was 10. Wow. And every place he said I moved every month, it seems, when he was a struggling actor, you know, and that belt always made it. You know, when you move, you always lose stuff, right?
Right.
But that belt, you know, he said he just had it, and it just, and he said he never wore it. He's not that he didn't want to, he just never wore it. And the first time that he even pulled it out of the closet for anybody to wear was when his son Peter asked for it. And so he said, this is why I kept it, for this reason. So yeah, it's just a heart touching, so many metaphors, just really beautiful comments. Keisha Key says, I ran into some coworkers at my current job with my best friend that I lost. I didn't know that worked here. To hear all of the wonderful things they had to say about her made me break down and brought me so much closer to her. Yeah, I think that's beautiful. You know, when you have, again, that love, you know, and then you know how that person you love touched others. That is moving and beautiful as well. And that just adds to the love, right? I was in awe when my mom died, and some of the comments that people made. We were very selective. I just didn't want a long, drawn out funeral. So I handpicked who would speak, but we had a place for people to write things on these pieces of paper and drop them in a bucket, like a little bowl, and to to see or read what they said, it just, the love I just swelled with pride and love. So Keisha, I know that, it's hard, right? Sometimes you love that person and miss them, but it also is beautiful to know how outside of you, especially when it's your parent, though, of course you think you're their everything, right? And, there's nothing else in their life but you. Even as an adult, I felt that way. So to hear how she, would do things and, help people, and how she made people laugh, and the little funny jokes that she told that she never said to me, to hear that from other people just made me love her even more, right?
Yeah.
So, and I love that that's kind of what they were sharing in the podcast too. So I'm really curious and fascinated to listen to the others, especially with Molly Shannon. She's a comedian. She's hilarious. But I don't know. I heard something recently about a loss in her life, and it might have been around this podcast, maybe. So I'm curious about that, and I would love to. Actually, I might listen today at Captain Boots swim practice. I have a full hour. I get work done. I listen to podcasts, whatever, during that 1 hour. So I might start it today and listen to that, as well as the others. I'll get to those. But I just love that. Again, that these two people, and I love that Anderson took it beyond his recorder, One of the things that he said, which you mentioned like earlier in today's stream, about loneliness, and they touched on that for a long time, and how lonely grief is, even in talking to each other. They're lonely, even in being here. We talked about this, was it a week before last? We talked about how grief is lonely, like, even though we have people checking on us. I think that was one of the things.
It's an individual thing. Like, it's your own experience of it. Yeah.
It's like Grievers Unite, right? Like we have those grief groups, Grievers Unite, or Grievers Anonymous, or whatever. And we have Good Grief here, and we have people come in and share, and we go to the Discord, and we do unite in that way. But our own individual grief is lonely. We had that experience with our loved ones. We know what that love was and how heavy that loss is in our lives. And I didn't really understand that until my mom died, and listening to what people were saying about her and reading those comments, that I lost her, but so did other people, maybe in a different way. The grief isn't as maybe heavy, or it's not the same as maybe her colleagues, or even her sibling. She had one sibling left, or even my husband. Tim grieved greatly when my mom passed, and he still does, but it's different. But so we can all unite, in the funeral and the viewing and the repast and all of that, and unite in love for that one person. But individually, that grief is different. It's different for all of us. That journey is different. So I thought it was interesting. One last thing about the podcast, and actually I'm going to go back and listen to it, because I listened to it mostly driving, and me, Professor, honey, I'm going to take some notes, okay?
Exactly.
I wanted to take some
notes.
You
can't do that if you're driving, so you got to go back and do it while you have pen and paper.
Right. Actually, maybe I'll do that today, and then I'll listen to Molly Shannon's on Monday, because Homeboy has Deacon Boots has practice Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
So is he interviewing each one of them on his podcast? Like he's interviewing Molly Shannon, and he's okay.
Yeah. And it's really a chit chat, honestly. Like I said, you can hear him moving boxes in his apartment. Let me see. I know it's Molly Shannon. The other people that I think he has on the podcast, I believe it says like one person is a therapist or something. Let's see. Oh, a filmmaker, Kirsten Johnson, lost her mother in 2007, and now her father. So this is interesting, you guys. I don't know if anybody has this, and Kim, I'm sure you have dealt with this in your ministry. Is the title of this one is called Anticipatory Grief. And this person, Kirsten Johnson, her father has dementia, and she said he is disappearing before her eyes. And so she knows what grief feels like from losing her mother, and she's anticipating grief, maybe a different level, but grief nonetheless with her dad. So that one is the latest one. It just came out.
Yeah. My mother is dealing with that.
Yeah, you've mentioned that.
You know, when someone goes through Alzheimer's or dementia, the person that they were, the vibrance, the energy, just the personality of the individual begins to shift. And so the man that my mother married is not the person that my dad is right now. Yeah. So, I mean, she literally has had, I mean, and it's been, so when we found out that my dad was really, something was happening differently with him, it was 2017. And by the time we got a diagnosis of it, it was 2018. Because what helped us to know what was happening. And honestly, some of his family, like his siblings, started to see it more than we did. And I remember when my dad turned 80, and I asked him, I said, Daddy, are you having some memory issues? He was like, I'm 80. I'm what you expect? Right. I can forget stuff. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And I left it alone. And I didn't even think about there being any other thing. But, you know, he had some a prostate issue. And he was not telling us what was going on with him. And he had to go to the emergency room. And so in that, you know, the doctor asked, has he been having any memory cognitive issues? And my mother kind of started thinking, and she was like, well, yeah, he's just been acting different. And they said, well, that could be because of the toxins in his system, etc. But, you know, let's get through that, get through dealing with this issue, and then we'll do some other investigation. Maybe he'll just kind of normalize once all of that. And he never did. So that instance really did kind of make all of the rest of reveal the rest of what was going on.
Right.
Because he had been forgetting to do different things. He was a caretaker to his oldest sister. So, you know, and he handled all of her finances, all of her errands, everything. And when she all of a sudden handed all of that over to my cousin, my dad was hot. He was like, if she didn't want me to do it, all she had to do was tell me. And he kept just being on repeat about it. Like he could not let it go. And we realized later is because he had misplaced some things that he was supposed to go do, he hadn't done, deposit he was supposed to make, they were still sitting somewhere, he didn't take them. And she never said anything to us about it, and she never had a conversation with him about it. She just pivoted and said, okay, Darwin, I need you to handle this now, without saying anything.
Yeah.
And so honestly, she may have been the first to really recognize what was going on. And I mean, I don't know that I have really processed it yet. I know that my dad is very different because he used to be the GPS. Daddy, how do I get XYZ? He could tell me off top of his head. Now, my mother got lost once because she was just expecting him to be able to tell her that she was going the wrong direction. And she was trying to get, I don't even know, back to their house. And she ended up like in Jonesboro somewhere from dropping me off.
Oh, no.
And when she called me, I've been driving around for the last 45 minutes. And your daddy, I'm like, Mother, he doesn't know that you're lost. He doesn't know where he is right now. He can't tell. This is why you have a GPS on your phone. So I need you to start learning to use GPS so you can get from different places when you don't know where you are. Because how does the rest of the world get anywhere? Through a GPS. So that's a real thing.
Yeah, it's fascinating you say that now, because now I'm thinking too, you know, part of the anticipatory grief, you know, is not just the loss, you know, anticipating the loss of that person, but it's also the loss of your existence with them. Perfect example of your mom. Now, you know, if he was the GPS, now she's something very simple to maybe somebody out there listening. But for someone where that's that connection and you realize now that that's gone, he's still here, but that's gone. Like you're starting to see little by little how your life will now change. And that to me, that's very powerful. I can imagine. I can't imagine how that feels, and you live that every day, you know? That is very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, from having to, he paid all the bills.
Yeah.
He handled all the repairs. So now I'm, whenever anything is broken at the house, I'm on some app, whatever, looking to get somebody to come out there to check it out, because she doesn't know who to call. The insurance needed to be redone, and all of a sudden now they need a fence around the deck that they've been in the house for 40 years and there's never been a fence there. And now all of a sudden there has to be a fence. And because my mother is who she is, it's got to be wrought iron. It can't be wood. So, we got to go through that process, and just her having to get acclimated to handling the affairs that she never had to deal with any of this stuff. I mean, we found out stuff that he hadn't paid for in months because he said he'd already paid for something.
Right.
He hasn't, and he didn't do it. So just getting all of that squared away and being helpful, trying to be as helpful as possible. But, my mother lives that every day in, day out. And I work 40 miles away. So, a lot of times she doesn't want to bother me with it, but I've really tried to get her into like a support group, because I really do feel like she needs some support around other people that are dealing with that kind of thing. Because I'm only there, when I'm visiting. I'm not living with them. So it's hard. It really, And even people who have, like, there's a member of our church, he's in stage 4 cancer. He has made a decision that he doesn't want to do chemo anymore. He's tired. He doesn't want to do it. And he said, I just want to live the rest of my life on my own terms with my family. So however long that is however long that is. And so his family, his sister just flew back in because she just got the news that he stopped chemo. And now family's trying to come in and spend time with him, because now they really don't know when and how much longer he has.
Sure. I get. I've been through that with my aunt. My aunt was she had pancreatic cancer, and at the same time, as a result of all of that, she ended up having to have dialysis, and both of those things together, she just had enough. And it was a Saturday. The doctor told her, he said, you know what this means? And they brought in all these people to tell her what it means. And he said, you might have 2 weeks, actually. And 2 weeks to that day, she died. Yeah. But she said she just couldn't do both. Like, she didn't want to do any of it, but she said together, it's horrible. And I don't want to go out like this. I want to go out on my own terms. But she was just so sick. I mean, even those 2 weeks, I mean, she was not like she was out, riding roller coasters until the end. She was just really ill. But yeah, I've experienced that with her. She was the aunt that I lived with growing up. So she was like my second mom. And that was hard. It was hard. It's hard to hear that, but at the same time, you want to respect.
Right.
Especially, and I think for my mom, I mean, it was tough for her, but she also recognized too, like, it's not like her cancer had gone so far. It wasn't like doing this was going to then turn things around and she was going to have the life that she had, And so my mom said, I'm at peace with her. Just, it's her decision. It's her life. And, that I will respect that as hard as it was. But again, even in that, there's anticipatory grief, right? Because and it's accelerated,
right? Right. Because all of a sudden you go from, okay, so we had hope that this is going to work and that, you're going to do the process and everything else. And now you have made a decision that, you know what? No, I don't want to do that. And so everybody knows what that means. And so now you got to get your mind around that. And you're trying to now be supportive, but you could be angry because it's like, no, I need you to fight. I need you to try.
Yeah.
And so Yolanda talked about, she said, my mom didn't tell us. She just started doing what she wanted. And, people will make decisions and not tell their family. I mean, so it's, all of it is hard. And it causes us to have to really, because I mean, people can, because I know sometimes I can get a little, feel some kind of way about, like, Miss Webb. I'm like, if y'all had told me that she had made a decision, then I could have responded differently.
Yeah.
I would have been able to actually go be with her beforehand. And so to find out the day that they were moving her to hospice and she didn't make it to hospice, was kind of like, so I did have some anger around the family, because I'm like, did she tell y'all not to tell me, or did y'all make a decision not to tell me?
And that's hard. That's so hard, because you want to, like, if it was a decision that she made, or if in anybody's case, and you've experienced that, you know, you want it, like my mom, like she wanted to be respectful of her decision, but years later she told me she was really upset. You know, she's like, that's her oldest, you know, her eldest sister, and she was kind of mad at her, like, you're not fighting, I want you to fight. And but to her face, you know, she was like, I support you, and you know, of course she was there every day until she died. But it's a thin line, right? Like you want to respect their choices in living and dying on their own terms. But at the same time, right, you're like, I wish I had known, like you said, just to say goodbye, or to spend that moment, those last moments, or one more time to hear her voice. You know, you sort of wrestle with that. I definitely I know I would feel some kind of way if that were me. You know, I feel my dad, I don't think he gave up, but he was ready, certainly. When he died of leukemia, he was definitely ready to go. And I think he knew it too. I think he was just like, all right, I'm going to call, because he literally did. He called all of us. And if any of us were married, he talked to our spouses, he talked to Tim and told him what to do while he was gone, you know, whatever. And then the next day he was gone, you know. So I feel like, to me, that was a gift. And then on the other side of it, I feel like I would be upset, though, if someone made that choice, especially, and didn't tell us, you know, didn't tell me. It's hard.
Denise, the last day that I saw her, we actually were supposed to go to lunch, and she had like a little setback. And so she didn't meet us for lunch. So we went to lunch anyway, me and another friend, and we just brought her food over to the house. And she had like the do not resuscitate paperwork on the table. And I was like, what is this? And she's like, oh, no. I want them to try to save me. I'm not signing the DNR. I want them to know that they need to do everything possible, because I want to live. And I'm like, okay, because I was about to say whatever. But you know, at that point, she had gone to MD Anderson. They had told her there was nothing else she could do. And so when she did pass away, so crazy enough, she was my tax person, and she died on tax day. She did taxes that night, and when she went to bed on the 15th of April, she did not wake up the next morning.
What?
So that was, I'm like, you know what, you got jokes, and me and you gonna talk about that when I see you next. So at the services, you know, I was there because we, you know, she was a sorority sister, so we had our Omega, and I had a chance to really be in there with, and I literally had a whole conversation with a body, because I was like, listen, I get you were tired, I get that you know, felt like that everything had been done, but I don't agree that you made a choice to just go ahead and go. I understand, but I don't understand. And so
right, I understand, but I don't.
When I see you, I'm gonna hug you, but the first conversation we're gonna have is, you got to explain this to me, because I was not ready. I wanted her to fight. I was like, I felt like she could, but she had been dealing with it for so long, and she was really just kind of, she was on pills, she was taking this, she had gone through chemo, she had gone through radiation, she had tried everything, and it just would not subside. And she was like, I'm done, I'm ready to go. And I'm like, what do you mean you're ready to go? So I mean, sometimes for us, they were like, you know what, let me just not, because I talk to about it, I know who I can't, and I hope I didn't make her feel bad, and maybe I did, but I don't know. I mean, I was just being who I was.
Yeah, and you were grieving too.
And that was anticipatory grief, because I'm like, no, you can't go anywhere, because I'd already lost another friend, and I'm like, I can't use another friend. This is not good. And you know, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I lost a line sister, so this will be the first anniversary of us kind of all being at homecoming, and she not be there.
That's gonna be hard.
So
you feel that their absence, you know. Hey, Shelly Thunder. Welcome in. I hope you're having a good afternoon. Yeah, it's that anticipatory. Yeah, I'm very curious to listen to that podcast also. So those of you who are just joining us, we were talking about Anderson Cooper's newish. Well, it's not super new, but it's been out for a little bit. His podcast called All There Is. It is a podcast by Anderson Cooper from CNN, and it's on Apple. I went to their website. It looks like you can play it right from there if you don't have an iPhone. But it's there's 6 episodes. They're all about grief and grief chats. He lost his mother, who was Gloria Vanderbilt, the designer. And he was cleaning out her place, and all these memories and things came up, and he started recording his feelings, and then decided to talk to people that he knew would get him and get his grief. And so these podcasts are chit chats / interviews, I guess, with people like Stephen Colbert, Molly Shannon from SNL, who understand loss and grief. So that's kind of what we've been chit-chatting about today. So I encourage you. It's called All There Is podcast by Anderson Cooper. It is really good. The podcasts are, at least the 2 that I saw that I wanted to listen to, are like 50 minutes. So not terribly long at all, but very moving. I think those of us who have experienced loss, we can certainly identify with maybe not all of it, but some of it at least. And it's just very moving to listen to their stories about their moms. And a lot of it, I'm sitting there shaking my head like, me too. Yeah, me too. So I'm going to finish with this really beautiful metaphor of Stephen Colbert. And it's funny because, Stephen Colbert, he's so funny to me. And like you say, Anderson Cooper. And so when people are being serious, you kind of lean in a little bit more. Like, oh, we're not telling jokes? Okay.
Right.
So, but he used this metaphor of talking about his mom and how our mind is like a mansion. And each person that we love has a room in our mansion, right? And before they die, the doorknob is on both sides. The love is there. We can see them, talk to them, love on them, hug them, whatever. And he said, what makes the grief so hard for him is that this room in the mansion is closed and the doorknob is gone. He cannot open that door. And he wrote a letter to her, or wrote a poem or something. And he said she was a giant of a person. And just, he said she was an actress, I guess. And he said she used to, show them when they were growing up, she'd be making dinner in the kitchen and she would show them how to fall down on stage, the right way so you don't hurt yourself, whatever. She's a big presence. But he said her death, the door gently closed. He said for others, the door violently closes, maybe by, a tragic accident or death by suicide. But for her, they expected her passing, and the door gently closed and the doorknob went away. And he said when he realized that door that would open and close is gone, honey, I was driving and trying to see. I was
listen. I'm sitting here now, like, visually
beautiful though, like, and to hear this from a comedian. But again, that is what I think is I don't want to say fascinating. It is fascinating to me about grief, that something so powerful gets all of us, no matter if you're a comedian, if you're a professor, if you are a pastor, if you are a drug addict, if you are whatever, it doesn't miss us. It does not. And that is why, again, I STL is not here, but in her absence, I will always say thank you to her for this space, because, and you all are here, whether you're lurking or you've typed in the chat. First, thank you all for being here, but you're all here because that's what unites us in some way. And no matter how the door closed, whether it was a gentle door close, whether it was a slam, your door closed, and we're here for that reason. And that I will take that with me forever. I'm gonna start crying. I'm not crying this whole stream.
So the preacher in me would rewrite that slightly. I would say that the mansion is in your heart.
Yeah.
And that the rooms are still there. It's just that you don't have access as you used to.
Yeah.
But it still holds the memories. It still holds the love. It still holds all of those things. But the access to it has changed.
Right. That's what he said. He said, yeah, the rooms are all still there, but that doorknob, I just can't go, she's where she is, wherever that is for our loved ones, right? So yeah, I think that's beautiful.
That's why if you saw the Woman King and the scene with Igozi and Nani.
Yes.
The girl that I've seen it 3 times and I broke down all 3 times and so the second time I knew it was coming and I was still crying. Like I was there standing in the midst of it all. So tears are needed and necessary in this process.
Yeah.
If I don't say on this stream, that is the thing that I need everybody to get. That there's healing, there's just, I mean, the tears show that there was great love there. And it helps us to process through the trauma of the loss. So it is 2:13. We have had a great discussion today of varying subjects, but we hope that everyone was blessed by today. We appreciate your attendance and presence with us. For those that may have been lurking that chose not to say anything, we hope that you gleaned something from today's broadcast that you can take with you. But just know that whether you speak or not, the fact that you're here means that you're holding space for yourself or for someone else who is lost. And so as we head into the weekend, we just want to let you know we're not going to be in the Discord today. CBT got some stuff to do. I got some stuff to do. And we'll be back next Friday. So have a great weekend. Remember that in the Discord, we still do have the Win Phone, which is a mechanism that is utilized to actually send messages to your loved one. You can type a message in there. If you go and you see, there are other things that are there. There people have already left notes and messages there, or just acknowledgments that I have just suffered a great loss and my heart is broken, whatever that might be. And there's other information in the Good Grief Discord under STL's channel. So I don't know that we have a way of, if it's not already running through the stream, we won't.
Yeah, I've seen it pop up, the Discord. I saw it pop up earlier.
But we won't be there to actually have chit chat afterwards. But feel free to still go to the Discord and check out Good Grief and the Win Phone and other great information that's there. CBT.
Thanks, T. Summers. I just saw your comment about the book. I may have to get his audio book. I just love hearing Anderson Cooper talk too. I just love his voice. So I would love to, if it's on Audible or like an audio version, I would love to listen to that. And especially if he dives in a little bit deeper, I'd love to. So thanks for mentioning that. And Yolanda, I saw your comment. I'll just say quickly. I typed in the chat. Crying is cleansing. Get it out, sis. I have no shame. As some of you who have been here regularly, your girl will cry, and it's just the way it is, right?
She's not alone. I will cry too.
I said earlier,
there's no such thing as crying too much. That's what I need you to get.
Okay, it's his first book. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just say it's good, and that means, again, it doesn't mean anything bad. It doesn't mean anything about you. You're sensitive or weak. We beat ourselves up and say those things. So I'm not saying that to you as if some kind. I've said those things to myself too about crying too much or whatever. But it doesn't mean those things. Thank God for therapy. And getting help in recognizing that it's a good thing. It's cleansing, and it's love. It's love. And I feel like if my mom, I can't hug her. I can't physically touch her. I always talk about how I just want to smell her. I just want to smell her, but I can't, right? So my way of loving comes out in tears. So I let the love out. I want to show in some outward way. And sometimes I can't help it. I just cry because I just feel it, right? But if I can't hug her, I can't smell her, I can't wrap her up, I can't hold hands with her when we're crossing the street when we go to plays in New York, but I can let those tears out. That's my love. And so I want you to think about your tears as love, and as a tribute in a way to the people that you love and that may be gone now. It's not a bad thing. It's never too much. It's like saying you have too much love. Never. You never have too much love, right? So get those tears out. It's okay. It's really okay. And sometimes, at least for me, we talked about this too. It feels good. It's cleansing. You feel like you're getting it out. So I'll leave you with that. And I'll also leave everyone with what I always do on this stream and my own. Please, if you're listening and lurking and you're not following Spiritual Thought Leader, maybe you just dropped in, hit that follow button and follow her right now.
Yes.
But I have my own channel, Crazy Berry Town. So swing by there for Zumba, day drinking, and chit chat. But I always say, please find the joy in something. Every single day, find some joy, big or small. You deserve it and you are worth it. Have an awesome weekend. Shelly Thunder, thank you for being here. DJ Stacy, bless one. Hey, good to see you. Yolanda Oil, right? He'd be driving you crazy, right? I'm sure. And for all of you there, out there, we are happy that you're here. We send you love and hugs. We are sorry for your grief, and send love for those that you've loved and that are now are gone. But we appreciate you being here and coming together, and also for sharing. It takes a lot even to type. Sometimes I remember it hurt just to even say mom, or to say her name, much less get my fingers to type it. And it takes a lot when you're grieving sometimes. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for stopping in. We'll be back next week. Yolanda Oil, thank you for the sub. STL, she had a birthday last week and her family surprised her with a surprise birthday bash. She let us know earlier today. So she's getting glammed up and ready for the party. So that's why she's not here, but thank you on her behalf for the sub. We appreciate that. So once again, everybody have a great weekend. And we'll be right back here, Spiritual Thought Leaders channel, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. Central for Good Grief. Everybody take care and have a great weekend. Thank you.
Have a great weekend. Bye.